All right. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us this evening. For those of you online, thank you for joining us. Those of you in person, administration, good evening as well as the board. Today is Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. The time is now 5:41. We apologize for the timeliness, but we are here a little tardy, but present. May we have a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Here.
Ms. King?
Here.
Ms. Lee?
Here.
Mrs. Brown?
Here.
All right, would you all join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can go right into item 2, communications, liaison reports. Do we have a legislative report?
We do. This is actually a resolution, I'll give the actual quote, to advance academic excellence in K-12 education in safe school environments free from social identity policies that may infringe upon the unalienable rights of parents, students, educators, and district administrators. This is in a resolution that impacts the Title IX provisions, which, as you all know, are to grant safety to all students, regardless of sex, race, generally gender identity. This would exclude the last, so gender identity, those students who are questioning their gender identity from birth would not be protected by this.
Do we have a student achievement liaison report?
Yes. So, okay. So I think last month or the month prior, we were discussing absenteeism in the district and just generally. So one of the really interesting articles kind of expanded on that. So in the 2021 through 2022 school year, as many as 1 in every 3 public school students in the U.S. were chronically absent, according to Attendance Works. So their estimates show 16 million students missed at least 18 days of that school year, which is up from 8 million prior to the start of the pandemic. What I liked about this is that it goes a little bit further of just identifying the things about the numbers, but saying that solving chronic absenteeism isn't easy, and it involves building human relationships among teachers, parents, and students. So some examples of things that could be done, some strategies, if possible, would be scheduling teacher visits to families' homes are a proven strategy. Also recommending advisory groups for middle school and high school students to build connections with the faculty. For elementary school students, assigning the same teacher for more than 1 year, a practice called looping in education jargon, to build longer lasting relationships and more connection with students and faculty to attempt to address absenteeism in that regard. So I liked it because it wasn't just like numbers, it's like, hey, these are some proven solutions that I thought were really helpful. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. King. Item 3.1, minutes. The minutes of the regular meeting of October 18th will be
You skipped a couple. Superintendent,
Item 2.2, superintendent's report.
No report tonight. Dr. Reed's absent. She's gonna fill everybody in December.
In December. 2.3, public comment. Do
None.
we have any public comment,
No.
Mr. Hill? Hearing no public comment. can go
Two
right
big
into
items
item
right there.
3.1, the minutes.
Sorry.
The minutes of the regular meeting of October 18th will be approved as recorded or corrected. Furthermore, the reading of these minutes will be waived. May we get a motion to approve item 3.1?
So moved. Second.
Second.
Ms. Lee and Ms. King. Any questions or comments? Somebody absent one of those meetings?
The 18th, I think we were all here.
We were all here that day, remember, because we had executive session.
May we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Lee,
Aye.
Ms. King,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan.
Aye.
Item 4, treasurer's report.
Recommend for approval, item 4.1, the financial reports for month end October 2022. Item 4.2, the bank reconciliation for month end for October 2022. Item 4.3, the investment earnings for month end for October 2022. Item 4.4, we got some donations on there for approval. And then item 4.5, recommend for approval, all the treasurer items as presented.
May we get a motion to approve items 4.1 through 4.4?
So moved.
Second. Ms. Falkenberg, Ms. Ryan. Any questions or comments?
Thanks again to everyone who put in for the Legacy Village grants, and thanks to Cleveland Foundation and Legacy Village for continuing to, provide those opportunities for us. It's awesome. Looks like some good stuff.
I know, I wanna look at meditation.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. King,
Aye.
Ms. Lee.
Aye.
Item 5, superintendent's items on certified personnel.
Yes, under 5.1, recommending the Board of Education, the following retirements, resignations, leave of absences, unpaid leave of absences, and then instructional tutors. I want to give a little shout out to Mr. Richards on there too. I had a privilege of working with him at Memorial for my tenure there as principal. He's a great man.
May we get a motion to approve item 5.1?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Falkenberg, Ms. Ryan. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to ditto what you said, because it's been my privilege to have worked with him off and on over the years, and Mr. Richards is an incredible teacher, and he also is very connected to his students.
Yeah, I was wondering, Miss Grottle's gonna be very missed at Sunview. Been here for a long time as well.
Hearing no further questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. King,
Aye.
Ms. Lee.
Aye.
Item 6, classified personnel.
Yeah, I ask the board to approve the following. You'll see on here, we have a lot of new appointments. We have a couple of changes of assignments, retirements, and resignations, and a couple of paid of leaves of absences, and some new substitutes coming in. I'd like to recommend those to the board for approval.
May we get a motion to approve item 6.1?
So moved.
Second.
So, Ms. Lee
Yes, I'm sorry.
and Ms. King. Any questions or comments?
I just want to say, having worked with the Campanas,
Yeah.
it's going to be a big loss to see them retire.
Yeah, Mr. John.
Yeah, I was just
is-
gonna
yeah,
say.
like I miss seeing him now that we don't have meetings at the board office anymore. So we definitely miss Mr. John.
I was also miss, like, when we started out, we didn't have all of this electronic. They didn't send us everything electronic, and he would drop off our stuff every Friday
You had
at
to
our
go-
house. So I always got to see him, so yeah, he's gonna be missed. I always appreciated his happy demeanor.
Yes.
Thank you for those who have given their time to the district and decided to choose us as employers, and congratulations to those new appointments. Hearing no other questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Lee,
Aye.
Ms. King,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan.
Aye.
Item 7, supplemental contracts.
Yes, just one on there, asking the board to approve the supplemental contract for the fall play assistant director.
May we get a motion to approve item 7.1?
So moved.
Second,
Ms. Ryan and
Ms. Falkenberg.
Ms. Falkenberg. Any questions or comments?
No, but Miriam graduated last year, so that's awesome that she's back.
Yep.
I love seeing people, them all coming back to get involved. It's
There's
great.
a lot.
Yeah.
And the play is this weekend for those who are.
On Friday.
Thank you, Kathy.
And I think they're doing digital ticket sales again, correct?
Ticket sales are online.
Yeah, online, and then they have the. Perfect. Hearing no other questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. King,
Aye.
Ms. Lee.
Aye.
Item 8, business.
Asking the board to approve the following items under business, the OSBA agreement, as well as some construction to repair the roof at the PAC, and resolution for school bus bids.
May we get a motion to approve items 8.1 through 8.3?
So moved.
Second?
Any questions or comments? I do have a question or comment. Do we know, so this is a bid to buy multiple buses or going out to bid to determine how many buses we need?
So we participate in Ohio School Council, and as a consortium, they help with the bidding process, so we work with them, and they get us the best bids possible. So we participate in that endeavor so that we can save money. So we are in the beginning stages of purchasing 2 buses.
Okay.
So this is step 1. Next month, the contract for the 2 buses will be presented to you for approval, so hopefully we'll have the buses on campus in the spring. They usually take 9 to 10 months, but because we're participating in this endeavor and we ordered the buses technically about a year ago, that's why we'll have them available sooner.
Okay. Just because I don't know and I'm gonna ask. So the buses are fueled by,
Diesel?
okay, so are buses being transitioned as far as fuel where they're trying to be more green?
There are several different types of buses. And as we are learning more and more with the energy market,
Okay.
it is very volatile. We're in the beginning stages of identifying potential endeavors
Okay.
on how we could be more mindful so that
Okay.
we could limit our use of unused fuel that will only do damage to our environment and our pocketbooks, right?
Okay,
So we're in the process of identifying how that will look.
okay,
I can just tell you right now, the electric bus, as much as that's being pushed, infrastructure will have to be updated, the bus itself will be quite expensive,
The bank account will have to be updated.
and it'll be about
Thank you,
$500,000.
Mr.
okay. And when you say we don't make that decision alone because we're in a consortium. So the consortium would have to take on that task as well, correct?
So the consortium will go out to each district and say, what is your commitment to purchasing buses? How many buses are you looking at? And they take all that information and then they take that to the various dealers that produce the buses.
Okay,
And based on that information, those dealers will then say, here's the price that we're willing to offer the consortium to purchase a bus.
okay,
So the more schools that participate in that, and the more buses they choose, the better the likelihood of a cheaper cost for the bus.
okay,
And it's cheaper right off the bat anyways, because we don't have to go through the lowest bid process on our end, which is a cost involved with that too. So they do all that on their end.
okay. And then the last question I have, and don't laugh when I say this. So why, when I see buses, they're plugged up?
So we do have charging stations, so that will help with the warming of the buses in the morning, so we're able to do that. It just
Okay.
helps so that the motors don't freeze and we're able to start them, and it's a nice little cheating code.
Most diesel engines have that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because
Ooh,
it's not funny.
No, I
I drive by and I see us and I see other districts and I see all these plugs and I'm like, do our buses run by plugging them in? Cause I see all these codes.
That helps with the warming of the buses so that it doesn't take 30 minutes to start them.
Okay,
We give our drivers 15 minutes, pre-trip time.
okay.
And in the weather, when it's below 32 degrees, our mechanics will go out and they'll start the buses earlier. Having them plugged in helps that process so that they're not waiting forever, so that we can get our kids, time to school.
Okay.
Dag, we haven't had a
Thank you.
detailed report like that since Dana Stearns. That felt so good. Like, that felt amazing.
I'm
Thank you,
glad- I'm
Mr.
glad you
Williamson.
explained that to me, Cause I just was like I drive down the street and I'm like, 1 plugged in, 2 plugged in, 3. I'm like, we only have 4 electric buses? Like, our buses are electric, like.
We have 0 electric buses.
We looked at an electric bus during conference, Capitol Conference,
0.
but
We have
Carl
0.
shut me down. I can't get an electric bus.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Any further questions or comments?
Nope.
Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. Ryan?
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. King?
Aye.
Ms. Lee?
Aye.
Item 9, academics, technology, and innovation.
Recommend to the board, following items. It's exciting, post-COVID, we're getting some of our trips back. So you'll see Washington DC on there. You'll see the Costa Rica trips coming back in 2024. Mrs. Bastock and I will be chaperones, I'm just kidding. Overnight extended field trip for brush wrestling. Again, this is our girls team. Our numbers are growing. We're looking for more competition, so it's fantastic. And then it's the 3rd annual, you said, for the baseball, or 4th annual? 4th annual.
4th.
Spring break trip down to Myrtle Beach. And then a PSI agreement, for Title I services.
That's all.
Yeah, that's approval. That's all I
May we
need.
get a motion to approve items 9.1 through 9.5?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Falkenberg, Ms. Ryan. Any questions or comments?
I just want to ditto what Mr. Keegan said. I read this and just think about how excited the kids are.
Oh, yeah.
It's just such a great opportunity.
Yes.
Hearing no other questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. King?
Aye.
Ms. Lee?
Aye.
Item 11, exceptional students.
Asking the board for the approval for the following items in exceptional children. So Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio contract and North Coast Tutoring, and that's it, those 2 things.
May we get a motion to approve items 11.1 and 11.2?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Ryan. Any questions or comments?
Yes, I had a question. For 11.1, is this one student who is the gifted education and intervention specialist recipient? Or are these 2 different?
No, it's the contract for the ESE that we contract those services for gifted out of and for some of our students with
Okay.
disabilities. So
Okay.
it's for all the different people that service.
Got it, thank you.
Hearing no other questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Lee?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan?
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. King?
Aye.
Item 12, Board of Education. Board have any information they might want to release?
I had one, but it was already mentioned. It's just the fall flag.
Yeah, that's all.
Ms. Ryan, I know you got something.
I got nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. I've been very out of touch. I apologize.
Well, we did go to Capitol Conference this past week. That was very engaging. Good to see some of those sessions ramping back up after COVID. A lot of engagement. This year was a different year for me. You know, there weren't any sessions that were just over the top that I was overly excited about. There was a nice variety, but a lot of engagement with people. Kind of took a different turn this year. Trying to be a little more visible since my house is empty now. So I'm gonna try to do some things different this year with OSBA that I've really never branched out and done before. So it's gonna be interesting.
That's exciting.
We'll see. I did take a few notes, so I have some things to send over. I know, Catherine, I don't know you gave some to Erin, but we'll do that.
Yeah, I was able to.
She was
download
able to get
those,
hers actually, so. which
Some
was
notes
good,
from,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So other than that, who is council meeting for December? You do?
I do.
Do you have those dates already, or you need me to push them out?
I know that I have them. It's December the 5th for Lyndhurst, and then South Euclid is the 12th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And South Euclid is back in person, right?
Yes.
At Community Center,
Mm-hmm.
and then Lyndhurst is their regular. All right. If you need any content, don't
Yes.
hesitate. Push
Yes,
out some
everyone
emails.
Please send me yours, but I'll email out as well.
And Linda as well, if you need anything from her or Mr. Cable, they can
Okay.
get that pretty squared away. Any new and unfinished business? No. 12.3, board policy, first reading. Assistant superintendent and superintendent presents the following policies for first read and preliminary review.
Yes.
South Google Lyndhurst Board of Education will be asked to vote to adopt these policies at the board meeting being held on the 20th. They are all revisions, I do see.
Yes.
They all are.
I will not label them all individually. They are attached to the website if people would like to see
Yep.
them.
Yes, they are. And you'll notice too, I actually asked Dr. Reed this to learn it. You'll see weapons on there, for example, 5 times. What that is there's different policies for the public for certified administration and classified, so. that's all
Yes,
those are on there.
I did see that. So it's not reading, it's 3
Yeah,
repetitive things
3,
of the
yeah.
same thing. Perfect. Any closing items? We have any public comment, Mr. Hill?
Nope, just check, none.
Mr. Cable, Ashley and I have you on our calendar for the 21st. Is that still SEL safety meeting number 2
21st,
of November?
sounds good. Sounds about right.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
Just wanted to
And you're
check.
coming to DLT too, right?
DLT, yes, 15th, yes, sir.
Yep.
Any need, there is no need for executive session. I do believe we don't have a need this evening. And with that being said, thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for joining us as well. You did a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For having me.
And we will be resuming in December. May we get a motion to adjourn? It is
So
now,
moved.
Second.
what time is it?
6:03.
6:03 PM.
You guys have the link?
All in favor?